to Patrice 53 on the road today in Barcelona at Django Lash with Bireli Lagrene. Madame and Herren, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs.
I remember that.
I always dreamed to do this one day. That was what the album 15.
I think so.
Yeah, the president. Or so nice to have you here with us.
Thanks, man.
Beautiful Gypsy project. Many musicians that I talked over the year talk about 2000 with Gypsy project. How that really proposed like much more popular music in the US, especially in Canada and all over because of the Gypsy project. That was interesting to hear many things. So what do you think about that? Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it certainly did something to when we guys came on. You know, I think 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And now this music has always been around, you know, of course, you know, thanks to Django Reinhardt and many other musicians, you know, who played this music after Stefan Bireli and Django Reinhardt. But I don't know, it somehow, you know, it was that thing when it had something to do also with the 50th anniversary of the death of Django, I think.
2003.
That came around that time.
Samoa was exploded a bit.
Exactly, and you know that whole thing,
Combination
you know, that whole combination made it what it quickly became. You know, a few months after. I mean, I noticed this. You know, I noticed this right away. It was like a huge boom. You know, so all of a sudden, this music was like always compared to the Buena Vista Social Club. You know, it just took off all of a sudden, and it still is.
Yeah,
it still is.
It seems that every year in Samoa, more people from all over.
Mm-hmm.
And how is it for you to see that music as a gypsy, to see that music like being loved by so many all over the world?
I think it's wonderful because it's a music that deserves it so much, you know. And there hasn't been, I don't know, like in the 30s or 40s when this music was really popular, you know, Stefan Bireli, like, you know, Club de France, and all that stuff. And that was a very popular music because, as you certainly know, people would dance on this music. And there are certain pictures that I saw from the Club de France. They would play like in big ballrooms, and people sometimes happen to dance. You know?
Yeah.
So it was a popular music.
Yeah.
And now it became popular again. You know? I think it's a treat for us musicians, you know, for us gypsies, to see how big and known this music became. Even though I stopped playing it in some ways, you know, for a few years, but I still go back and forth sometimes and see because it's music that I've played since I was a child. You just can't give up certain things, you know. Although I've been playing so many different styles, you know, throughout my career. And but it's really cool to see something like that happen.
And you were talking about you start playing very young. We all know about that. But which kind of technique did you use to learn from? I think with your brother. I grew up in a family that there were a lot of players around, you know, and even my grandparents, my grandfather was, you know, his cousins. They were always musicians, you know, they always played. And my father picked it up too, and so he just, you know, there was always a lot of music around, you know, the house in those days. And I remember since I was a child, 4 or 5, you know, there was always music, and to me it was just natural to pick up an instrument, guitar or violin, whatever it is. But there was always music around. Me and my brother, we always flew around, you know. Always playing. Is it Gypsy?
Yeah.
Gypsy.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, when I got back to, you know, when I would come home from school, I immediately, you know, went on to my guitar, and all I did was play.
And do you play other things, like piano or?
I play a little piano, drums, a little bass, a little bit of violin. You know, I did that because I needed it and I wanted it. I just didn't feel like playing just one instrument. I think there's much more that you can learn through other instruments. You know?
Yeah.
And it helped me. You know? So I like to include those different instruments, you know, into the guitar in order to try to make it maybe sound like a violin once in a while. Chord-wise, I try to play stuff, you know, that comes from the piano and so. So it's quite an interesting thing.
Any advice for new lover of that music that want to play?
Advice? I don't know. It's always hard to say. It's, you know, I mean, there's one thing, you know, listen to the stuff, of course, you know, to that kind of music. You need, you know, enthusiasm and you know, just, you know, try to play it and try to play that style as close as you can. That's all. And practice.
Do you still practice, or you don't need to anymore?
I sometimes lay off, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It makes me feel better as a musician, because practicing every day is like, I mean, depends when you're like, you know, before your 20s or in your mid-20s, depending what you want. You know, if you're a classical guitar player or violinist, then you have to practice every day, I guess. Even though those musicians, they need to lay off too, you know, sometimes, but those people need vacations too. So, but I like to just put the guitar into a corner and touch it like maybe, you know, 2 weeks or something, and then
It's fresh again.
getting back on it again.
Yeah.
And practice a little bit, you know. Practice like an hour and a half a day, and that's way enough. And then if I practice, I don't even practice like, you know, practicing scales, or I just improvise.
Just
you know,
play.
just in order to get me going and to preserve that certain fluidity, you know, whatever it is.
When you improvise, what do you think of? Like, can you think about something else, or you need to?
Unexplainable.
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
You can't explain what you feel in that particular moment, because it's just, you know, it's like
It's a capsule.
you can't even catch it, you know, yourself, because it just, you know, boom, there it was. You know? Then you have to be somewhere else again at the same second. So it's like a thing, you know, of multiple seconds and stuff that happens all around, and especially in jazz, you know, which is probably the greatest improvisation music, you know.
Yeah.
You know, needless to say. So, but I don't know where or what I'm thinking. I mean, I'm thinking about the tune, about the sequence of the chords of the tune, you know, stuff like that, in order to be right in there. But other than in that particular moment, I'm thinking of, well, playing it slower, faster, or playing more feeling into it. I mean, you can do this, of course, you know, depending on what mood you are or what tune, you know, whatever you play. But that's about it. And a whole lot of concentration.
Must be, yeah. Yeah. And any other kind of music that you like? Classical, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Other thing?
I like rock. I like, you know, pop music. Some of it. I have really nothing against it. You got to be open-minded.
Yeah. Well, it's obvious in the way you.
I mean, you can hear it when I play. I mean, there is so many stuff that goes through the way I play. It can be, I don't know, everything. Just whatever I heard when I was a kid. It's just there. And it's like, I don't know, I use it, you know, when I'm playing just in order to, I don't know, keep it up to date.
Any young player that you see to become some?
Yeah, there are. Not only Manushta, you know, there's one guy I just played with him in Budapest a few weeks ago. His name is Andreas Farati. Of course, no, he's like 17. Then you got, you know, our French guys in Paris, you know, Adrien Monia, all these travelers, you know, Sebastian. Unbelievable.
They know how to improvise too. Everybody that I interviewed that play with you in the past. Like, oh no, all mention something about you that is, you're funny.
I'm funny.
Yeah, that's all what they say. When we look, yeah.
I look like I make you laugh.
No, because your face, when you, especially with the video we see when you play, and you know when you talk, you know, is he mad? Is he not? But everybody says you're funny.
Well, I'm funny as hell. Man.
Yeah.
But you know, once you're on stage, you have to be concentrated.
Yeah.
And that maybe maybe I don't laugh as
Yeah.
much as I should. It's all about concentration and to give the audience something. Now sometimes I make laughs with the audience too.
Okay.
Stuff, that kind of story. But in my private life, I'm incredibly funny.
Yeah, that's why. You tell
It's good for
jokes
the
or
spirit.
something? Usually?
Also, yeah.
Yeah. Any other hobby? Hobby that you, like Django, it was fishing?
Depends, man. You know, usually when I'm at home, I like to watch TV, like just keep myself, updated about what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we all do. We're all concerned about certain things. But then I like watching films a lot.
Huh?
I'm a pretty much film eater.
Which kind? Like the French cinema or the?
Not that much.
No.
Not that much. You know, like mostly some American movies. You know, like not the latest action hero kind of stuff. You know, stuff like Godfather.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Whatever, you know, touches like something from the 50s, 60s.
Did you watch Sweet and Low Down?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think?
I couldn't believe it, because some people might notice it because the story, it's about Django, actually. You know, you see him playing pool.
Because Woody Allen is a big fan of Django.
Right. So Woody Allen must have read that book, that Charles Delaunay maybe wrote, in those days. Like that scene with the half moon. That was Django's idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So, pretty funny.
Just to finish, can you tell us about Babik?
Oh, Babik, yeah.
Because you were very close.
We were like brothers.
Yeah.
Like brothers.
Yeah.
I met Babik in 1982.
82.
I was a teenager. And we stuck together until we died. We used to play a lot together.
But I heard it was not just about the music. It was really.
Oh, there was a friendship. We could talk about anything.
Yeah.
People might think we only
talk about
Django, his father, or music. But he really wasn't like that. He was a guy you could hang out with in hours. Going into a good restaurant, he was such a bon vivant. It was unbelievable. He knew a lot about wine. He liked good food. He was a tough guy.
A culture man.
A really, really, really man, full of culture, knowing the good things.
Mm-hmm.
Classy guy. A lot of charisma. When he would walk into a room, like the room was full, just by his presence. It's quite a man.
Interesting. Tall, a bit like Django too. Huh?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Which quality do you look in band member? Like Ono, why do you like Ono, for example? Why he's with you for so long? It's
because
rare.
he's funny. No, he's a great guitar player and a great human being.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He just matches both, and it's great to have somebody like that in the band. Not just only a musician, but also someone that you feel close to. As a
the
person.
connection.
Connection.
Yeah.
And we laugh. I remember. When we were tighter, a few years ago with the Gypsy project, we were touring the world. There was not a moment where we would say, "Oh man, it's boring." There were jokes one after the other. We would laugh. It was a therapy. It was like unbelievable.
It's a family away from home kind of.
It is a family which is far away from home anyway, but we kept it together somehow. It was a lot of fun.
Cool. Thanks again for being here.
No problem.
It's so nice to see you in Spain. It's beautiful.
Spain is great. Absolutely beautiful. Great. Good food.
Perfect. Like I always say, keep playing this beautiful music of Django, and keep listening to this guy. Or keep buying his CD, I guess. New CD coming out, or
Not yet.
not yet? Any idea, or?
No, I have a thing that I've recorded with Django and Stanley Clark as a trio. That should be out in a few months. March, maybe.
Okay.
But I, on my own, I don't have nothing going now. Everybody's waiting for this trio record that I just mentioned. And after that, we will see what I'll do. Probably, mid 10, 15 maybe something.
Thanks very much.
Welcome.